Morning Faith Bible family, and welcome to week 11 of our Psalms on the Porch series. We're going to take a short break this week from the Message translation, although I'll make a note of how Eugene Peterson translates a couple of the verses. But like many of you, I've been following closely the things that have been happening in our country over the last week, and it has filled me with sadness and anger and frustration, as I'm sure that it has for you. And it's right for us to bring those feelings with us to the Scriptures. And all the more if we bring them to the Psalms, because the Psalms are filled with pleas to God for justice on behalf of the oppressed. And we're in one of those Psalms this morning, Psalm 10, and we're going to read it in the NIV because it brings the message across clearly. So let's read it together. Why, Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In his arrogance, the wicked man hunts down the weak who are caught in the schemes he devises. He boasts about the cravings of his heart. He blesses the greedy and reviles the Lord. In his pride, the wicked man does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. His ways are always prosperous. Your laws are rejected by him. He sneers at all his enemies. He says to himself, nothing will ever shake me. He swears, no one will ever do me harm. His mouth is full of lies and threats. Trouble and evil are under his tongue. He lies in wait near the villages. From ambush he murders the innocent. His eyes watch in secret for his victims. Like a lion in cover, he lies in wait. He lies in wait to catch the helpless. He catches the helpless and drags them off in his net. His victims are crushed, they collapse, they fall under his strength. He says to himself, God will never notice. He covers his face and never sees. Arise, O Lord, lift up your hand, O God. Do not forget the helpless. Why does the wicked man revile God? Why does he say to himself, he won't call me to account? But you, God, see the trouble of the afflicted. You consider their grief and take it in hand. The victims commit themselves to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked man. Call the evildoer to account for his wickedness, that would not otherwise be found out. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations will perish from his land. You, Lord, hear the desire of the afflicted. You encourage them and you listen to their cry, defending the fatherless and the oppressed, so that mere earthly mortals will never again strike terror. Why, O Lord, do you hide yourself in times of trouble? This is one of those questions that would be impertinent or maybe even feel blasphemous if it wasn't in the Bible. But the Psalms ask questions like this all the time. Wicked people are thriving and oppressing the poor and the outcast, and it feels like God doesn't even notice or care. And it's hard not to feel, in times like the one we're living in right now, the same frustration. Wicked men can suffocate a man on the street without concern, it seems, for consequences because those consequences are far from certain. Now, thankfully, in the case of the killing of George Floyd, it seems as though justice will come to the man who killed him. But his death has exposed to many, maybe for the first time, a deeper system of injustice that lies in our society. One that has its roots in the first sin of our nation and has been felt through times of segregation and down into our own day in an imbalanced justice system. So what are we to do as Christians in the face of injustice? When we don't know where to stand or what to do, this psalm makes it clear to us where God is already standing and what he is doing. It says, you see the trouble of the afflicted, you consider their grief and take it in hand. God defends the oppressed so that mere earthly mortals will never again strike terror. Eugene Peterson puts it this way, the victim's faint pulse picks up. The hearts of the hopeless pump red blood as you put your ear to their lips. God listens, and he defends the oppressed. And in this time when everyone is so quick to run straight to their political corners, and are thus quickly divided from one another and from those who need us the most, we need to make sure that we are listening too. Arise, Lord, lift up your hand, O God. Don't forget the helpless. And don't let us forget them either. God bless you, and we'll see you Sunday for our first week back together as a church physically again in our sanctuary.